all over the place what cards you want to play. It feels like Burn is getting to a pretty set 60 cards. I feel like this is the 4th or 5th time in a row I've covered Burn where it's essentially been the same main deck. 4 Guide, 4 Eidolon, 3 Lavamancer as a creature, 2 Vortex, 3 Searing Blaze, 4 Fire Blast, Ripple, Price, Chain, Lava Spike, Lightning Bolt, 20 lands. Especially the creature base of 4 Guide, 4 Eidolon, 3 Lavamancer with 2 Vortex and 3 Searing Blaze as the flex slot. It feels like this is becoming a bit of an industry standard.
Here's a question. Do you like the list?
I do. The list that I play is I am 4 Searing Blaze, 1 Vortex in the main, but otherwise the same.
Now, one of my favorite things about Burn is that you let them know who you are on turn 1.
Yeah.
Turn 1 Lava Spike. All right, I know who you are, and I know what I need to do, which is not die.
Gonna throw a little sand in your eye.
That's right. Spike on turn 1 by Berryman. Gonna put Lossett down to 17. You saw Joe kind of acknowledge that, say, all right,
it's gonna be like this.
Yeah, pretty much. I've been here before. I hope I have the right hand to kind of acknowledge this. Now, of course, the thing that's really tough for Burn to beat, as you do know, and here's a Sensei's Divining Top, is topless counterbalance.
It is really hard, and it's imperative for Logan to get all the 1-mana spells out of his hand as fast as possible, even if it means he's being kind of inefficient in some other regards.
Sacrifice a Bloodstained Mire here. Gonna go search for a basic mountain. And we'll see what he wants to cast on this second turn of the game. Eidolon the Great Revel. Really, really good on turn 2 for this deck against pretty much the entire format.
Now, this is the type of spot where if I had Eidolon and 2 bolts in my hand, almost every single time I would cast the Eidolon, but against a Divining Top on this opening against Joe, I would actually cast the 2 1-mana bolts because there's just too big of a risk of getting locked out by counterbalance.
You know what Joe's playing. And here is bolt number 1. And this, maybe gonna be bolt number 2. Yes, sir. I like this play. I really do.
Me too.
Don't gotta get fancy with your instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you like it. Gonna spin top on the upkeep here, so no counterbalance on turn 2. We know that.
So this is a matchup where if Joe establishes the lock, that's gonna be game over, over 19 times out of 20.
Yep.
But he has to find the lock really fast because he has a lot of tools in this deck that don't do a lot against Burn.
Terminus.
Terminus is not great. He's got a fair amount of creature removal. The creatures he has are not great. His counter spells are medium.
Hey, that fetch land matters. That puts him into virtual 10, and he's got another Flood Strand in his hand. That's a virtual 9. If you add in the alternate casting cost for Force of Will, you could say Lossett's already at 8.
Yeah, I think the plan here is to pitch the Force of Will to the misdirection at some point, save a point of damage. That's especially attractive now with an Eidolon in play because if Logan has another burn spell at some point, you redirect it to the Eidolon, you get out of it, you don't take any damage. Joe still may have to Force of Will this. He may not be able to tolerate taking the 2 points of damage from playing Swords of Plowshares or whatever the case may be. But I think the way that Joe is doing this, he is hoping that Logan will play something that he can misdirect onto the Eidolon.
Sure. Joe going to search for a basic plains, one of his revised plains that he's known for. Again, 5-0 with miracles today. And he's his typical build. He does have that small red splash for Red Blast and Power Blast in the main deck.
I have played against Joe once in this matchup.
And how'd it go?
He got me in 3 games. Killed me game 3 with a Baneslayer Angel.
Ah, yes, this story. How did that taste?
I actually said, come on, Joe, when he cast it. But what are you going to do?
Yeah.
He's
respect it and lose to it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not mad about it.
Hey, if you're ready, more power to you.
Yep.
Gonna spin that top end of turn here. Now it's time to draw a card. Terminus it is. Now we can't forget, that costs a lot.
Yeah, it's not the casting cost of the miracle, it's the casting cost of the text box.
Yeah, the actual card, and it's 6 mana. So you saw Logan point at his Eidolon. That's not actually how it's gonna work, my friend. Converted mana cost of the card is actually 6.
Yep. This is like Force of Will is a 5-mana spell on the stack, even if you all cast it. It's the same
It wouldn't
concept.
cost 0.
Right.
Yep. So Joe clears that out. He's going to play a Flooded Strand. Again, he's at 10. And, that Eidolon, more than anything, was just kind of like a test spell, I think, from Logan. Just saying, hey, you got to deal with this thing. And if you don't, I get to get some good work done. If you do, that's cool.
And Joe's setting up this game where he may be able to establish Jace, which, in my opinion, is one of the better ways to lock out Burn, is Jace plus Fate Sealing.
Okay.
You don't want to commit a creature to the table because of Searing Blaze.
That's absolutely true.
So Jace is a really stable way of winning the game.
Basic Island draw. There it is.
He can go to 9 with Misdirection in hand. That's a really solid place to be.
Got to feel kind of comfy about that, right?
Yeah, Force of Will in case Sulfuric Vortex is something that Logan tries to resolve. Misdirection will cover most of the other stuff.
Joe going to go reaching for mana here. We might see a card like Vendilion Click. He does play 3 of that. He does have 1 in his hand. So here that is.
I'm not, I'm not one to critique Joe very much. He's obviously an expert playing this deck. But I think I would have tried to stick Jace in that spot because Vendilion Click causes you to have to care about Searing Blaze.
Yep.
That's a card that Joe could ignore otherwise. And if it comes up, if it's in play, it can't be misdirected because there's 2 targets. So it eats up the Force of Will, and that's a pretty big cost to pay.
Joe puts the Vortex in the bottom of the deck. Berryman did not have the 3rd land. His other 2 cards were Price of Progress. We're going to see a Rift Bolt go upstairs. See if this resolves. Pop isn't great right now, as it'll only deal 2, basically. The first one will probably deal 3, because the set will be forced to sacrifice the Flooded Strand. You count the Mystic Gate, that'll be basically a Volcanic Hammer.
The concern is Joe just has to be mindful of the spells that he cannot misdirect.
Yep.
That's the big thing.
Pop being one of them.
Yes. Because the Force of Will is a big cost. I mean, taking a point of damage here, that could make the difference.
Yep.
So.
Well, that's going to search up a basic island. He'll be able to spin the top. And I imagine once that happens, Berryman will probably fire off a spell. I do agree with you that playing the Click is a touch risky.
Yeah, if Searing Blaze comes up now, it basically has to be Force of Will, which costs you your Force of Will and a point of damage. Now, the upshot of getting the Click into play is if nothing bad happens, he can now plow his own Vendilion Click to gain 3.
Get that 3 life, yeah. That's a big deal. That undoes Burn Spell.
I still feel like were I on the other side of the table, I'd be far more worried about Jace than Vendilion Click in that spot.
Joe going to bash for 3 past the turn. He has no interest in kind of tapping low for Jace. Here's Price of Progress. Joe says, I go to 4.
He's going to try to hold on.
Logan going to draw a card. It's a mountain. You see a wooded foothills over there as well. He's going to play the foothills now. Pass the turn back. Joe knows about the other Price of Progress in hand. Doesn't know about the Mystery Mountain there, though. And he's going to spin the top via Mystic Gate. Card he's always been a fan of. So put a couple cards back there. Untap, take a draw. It's time to bash for 3. Berryman's going to go down to 13. Click is a pretty fast clock.
Oh, yeah, it adds up, for sure.
Foothill's going to get sacrificed. Berryman going to take 1 more. Going to go down to 12. That's important, too.
This is another small operations thing, but in this spot where you want to sack your fetch land because you're flooding out a little bit.
I'm going to guess crack on the upkeep.
Crack on the upkeep, so if you draw Searing Blaze, you've triggered landfall. You're learning the ropes with Burn. You've been around me long enough now.
I spent 35 weeks a year with you.
You know the tricks of the trade.
Yeah. I had better know. If I don't, you'll chastise me. So.
Where are you supposed to sack the fetch land?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Second main phase.
I'm sorry. I don't know. There's Pop. Might be time to cast Force of Will. Looks like he might get some info first. Maybe he just swords his guy.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to have to fight with the plow at instant speed. I think he wants to cash in now.
I was talking to Joe after round 3. He said, I'm 3-0 right now, but I've got 2 terrible matchups on the top tables for me. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, there's some people playing Cloud Post here.
That is not a good matchup for Joe.
He said, if you want to embarrass me on camera, you've got the deck to do so with.
It's funny because no matter what deck you play in Legacy, there's always at least one person in the room who's got your number no matter what. For Joe, it's definitely the Cloud Post decks. I mean, he has nothing that matters, no clock, no wastelands, nothing.
He said, there's nothing I can do. He said, it's like 95-5, and I'm not even exaggerating. So there's Pop. You saw the swords on the V-Click, so the damage plan's out the window for now. Spike ya.
Uh-huh.
Now, Spike has 3 damage target.
Player
or opponent.
I believe it is player.
Let's take a look at Lava Spike.
I think bump the Knight's opponent. and Lava Spike is player, I believe.
Because why would I Lava Spike myself? That would be foolish. Target player. Can't forget about the arcane on there.
Pulse of the Forge rebuys.
Yeah, that's true. I've been there. I've been there with Pulse of the Forge. Target yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That card. That was a card. Snappy. It's a one-up in Joe's deck. He's gonna swords his own guy, I believe.
He's trying to do kind of a bootleg life gain strategy at this point.
He's at 4, so.
Yeah, it's not pretty, but I like the way that Joe's playing this. I would have stuck the Jace, I think, a while ago, but I think Joe has his opening now.
I think now's good. And he's got a feeling that Logan is on a pretty bad hand, and he's got blue card plus either Force of Will or Misdirection. So he's got to be feeling pretty comfy.
Yeah, it's one of those spots where he would have cast anything that he had, and Logan's had multiple opportunities to cash in Searing Blaze, so it just has to be a land. Nothing else makes sense.
Top card goes to the bottom. It's time for the Mind Sculptor to get to work. Now Lossett does have a Tundra that he could play. It's a little bit risky. He's at 4. Price of Progress is a thing. But Logan has cast 2 already. So how much does he care about it? Looks like he's not going to play the land. Logan was going to play a land, so he gives a little bit of info there.
Well, I think Joe would bet his life right now that that card in his hand last turn was the land.
I think so, yeah.
Nothing else makes sense.
So now Lossett gets to untap.
Now Joe may commit the 5th land to the table because he can hard cast either the Misdirection or Force of Will. Still may not be something where he wants to fight over Price of Progress, though.
See a mountain to draw. He's always got a basic mountain in his deck with the Red Elemental and Pyroblast package of his Miracle deck. Joe will make some subtle changes here and there every single week when he plays this deck. Sometimes he's got a Misdirection, sometimes he doesn't. Misdirection looking pretty smart here.
And that mountain is a huge draw for Joe, too, because it allows him to put a 5th land on the table without playing further into Price of Progress.
Which is here.
Yeah.
He could have played a Tundra. And he chose not to the last turn and chose not to this turn. It's almost like he's been here before.
Yep.
There's a V-Click in hand as well. There's also that Forcible. Does Joe want to go to 2?
Not worth the fight yet. This would be another spot for Sunshock, which we mentioned earlier.
My goodness, would you stop? Would you? It does probably make for a good coverage moment, I'll give you that. The sudden shock slow roll.
Oh, yeah.
Could make for some fun.
Oh. I've had my share.
V-Click. See a Goblin Guy in the land. See what we want to do here with that.
I like not casting the guide here. I think Logan correctly sniffed out that there's just no way that's doing anything.
Yep.
He needs to try to set up multiple spells.
It's a smart play.
Especially with an active top. I mean, it gives Joe a fresh look at a land, which is another card deeper with the Divining Top.
Yeah,
so it's
sure.
Not, the cost on Goblin Guide is not small right now.
Yeah, I agree. I like that play. Venser the draw. Joe's really finding a lot of creatures this game. He's only got 5 in his deck. 3 clicks, a snap, and a Venser. He's going to go Fate Sealing here. Take a look. Looks like it may be a Goblin Guy. Joe's going to consult the grip again. Make sure he's happy with everything he sees.
Fencer's pretty sweet here against Goblin Guide.
Yeah. Can trade with it. Can maybe get a little more fancy if he wants. He's been known to get a little fancy with Venser. There's a guide.
And Joe is doing all this with still Misdirection and Force of Will left over.
And blue cards.
He has been extremely careful about making sure that he manages his life total and leaves up some backup.
2 guides. Joe crosses that off the list. He knows everything Here we come. It's time for triggers. Joe's going to roll up the sleeves, maybe spin the top here.
I found it's usually bad news when Joe rolls up the sleeves.
Often. Yeah. It's time to do the dirty work.
Someone's about to get worked.
Yeah. I'm going to take that, thank you. Knew that was there. Now I'm going to spin this. Take a look real quick. Make sure I get my land. I want to clear my top. There's a counterspell. That's a beautiful card to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goblin Guy trigger. Yes. We have not gone to blocks just yet. Joe wants to make sure there are no missteps here, of course. He is at a very precarious 2. Now it's time to draw a card. Oh, look at the value. Me, oh my. Might be his favorite play.
Oh, yeah.
Did it last time we were here in Dallas. Activate top response, play Venser, bounce my top, draw the card, kill your stuff.
And now the full lock is in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not dividing top, but with all the counters he has.
With Force, Jace, actual counterspell, might just be over. He can play a land. Play a top too. Yep, there's that and that. 4 mana available. 6 cards in grip. Happy, happy. He knows what he's drawing. Who are you? You're a Fire Blast. I think I might just counterspell you. Yep.
It's too fun to misdirect it, but I guess Joe doesn't want to reveal that mystery.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. Yeah, if he can save that for the next game, it's way better, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to imagine that Logan's not going to see that coming at all.
In the abstract, you would maybe want to use misdirection there because you can't misdirect every spell in the burn deck.
Yep.
So there's an argument for keeping counterspell because that checks everything, but the information to be gained here is significant. And if Logan doesn't see misdirection coming, I mean, the times I've gotten misdirected, it has been ugly.
It's bad every time.
Oh, it's bad.
The story is always very funny, but it's bad news to be on the receiving end of. There's Eidolon. Nope. Hardcast Forcible. It has that mode too. Spin that top. There's Swords and a Brainstorm, among others. Joe will decide what he wants. There's also a Terminus in there. Gonna put those cards back. It's time to untap, take a draw. How about Jace 13? Let's take a look. Who are you? Consult the hand.
Put something irrelevant on the bottom and get sudden shocked. That's all I'm hoping for.
Yeah, you are horrible. You are the worst guy. Joe's gonna show Logan Jace the Mind Sculptor, that ultimate. It's a good one.
It's not good.
Fine, it's not good, it's great. It's not good for you, Logan, I can tell you that much. Hiya! Price of progress? No, sir. Counterspell, concede the game. Joe Lossett does win game number 1 here over Logan Berryman. Boy, Miracles up a game, over a burn, expertly piloted by Joe Lossett.
Like watching someone carve the Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Just perfect craftsmanship. I can't get enough of watching it.
It's pretty easy for Joe. He's been here before. He'll be here again. Sitting at 5-0 up a game. Take a look at the sideboards. My burn friend over here, Patrick Sullivan's got Logan's.
2 Ensnaring Bridges, 3 Smash Smithereens, 2 Searing Bloods, 3 Vexing Shushers, 3 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Mindbreak Trap. 3 Vexing Shushers will be coming in for certain, probably replacing the 3 copies of Searing Blaze. And that is about it for sideboarding.
It feels pretty straightforward over
The rest of
there.
these cards are fine. I mean, Price of Progress is not ideal in the matchup. The sort of the floor for burn is you can always side out your worst cards for relics. Not ideal, but you can go ahead and cut bad cards for cantrips. I feel like Price of Progress crosses the threshold of being good enough where you don't cut it for relics. So it's just 3 Searing Blazes for the 3 Shushers.
We got 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Flusterstorm, a Needle, Static Caster, a Grafdigger's Cage, Pyroblast, Red Blast, Wear Tear, Misdirection, Supreme Verdict, Entreat the Angels, Council's Judgment, and a Venser, Shaper Savant for Mr. Lossett. I love Flusterstorm, of course. That's a 2 of. Oh, man, you know, the thing is there's not a ton of cards to bring in here. He does have a Pyroblast and Red Blast as sideboard out. He has additional Misdirection, so that could be a beaten. You can make an argument for Wear Tear because it kills not only Sulfuric Vortex, but also Eidolon.
Yeah, I think wear tear is good in this matchup. I think Council's judgment is reasonable for the same reason.
It's a touch expensive.
Well,
that's scary to me.
The thing is, the way that the match gets stolen in games where Joe has a shot is Sulfuric Vortex. That's the card that allows Bird to win some pretty unwinnable games. So I would bring it in. It's not like it's a dead card if he doesn't have Vortex, and he just needs to protect himself from the worst of it. I wouldn't even be surprised to see the second Venser come in, because Venser also does good work against Vortex.
Yeah, Venser seems pretty good. I mean, outside of the adorable interaction, of course, the Sensei's Divine Top, tapping to draw a card and then bouncing it, it does seem like it's pretty good in this matchup.
Yep.
It's a body. It can block, trade with Goblin Guides, maybe trade with Eidolon without dealing yourself damage when you cast it. A blue card to remove a Force of Will, and it's also a blue card to remove Misdirection. An additional one of those is coming in too. So I could see that joining us.
Yeah.
I could. We'll see. Both players are... Man, Joe looks like he's happy with this configuration. Again, you have to imagine he's played against Burn quite a few times.
Well, Joe plays quite a bit of Magic Online. He is a regular streamer, and Burn's a popular deck, and Magic Online is fraught with budget issues. I mean, that influences the metagame from Standard all the way up to Vintage. So I'm certain this is a matchup Joe has encountered numerous times, both in physical Magic and on Magic Online.
Well, as most people know by now, on Sundays, we do Modern Premier IQs now. We have one today. Got about 150 players here doing that. Looks like they're in round 5 right now.
Yep, so these IQs are available for stores to run $5,000 in cash prizes. Open points for all participants. Top 4 receive invitations to the Invitational, side event prizes, all that stuff. These are big events. You can run them at your store. We're also running them every Sunday on the Open Series at 10 a.m. They are all modern all the time at the Open Series. But if you're running these events at your store, there's more flexibility. You can run whatever formats you want to. So we already have a couple of these IQs up and running. I believe a couple of the premier IQs have already fired, in fact. Not outside of the Open Series.
Absolutely.
I mean, in physical stores. We have a couple of events coming up and more to come in 2014.
Yeah, you guys can run this if you're a store. It's not tough. Much like, SCG Game Night, which you can, register and do. You can also do Modern Premier IQs as well. It's not something that we're only doing on the Open Series. And you can run any format that you want, which is also really, really cool. So if you like Modern, that's sweet. We love Modern too. That's why we're able to bring it to you. If you want to do Standard, we know everybody loves that. If you want to do Legacy, sure, why not? Whatever you want.
Absolutely. So, again, these are pretty high levels of organized play. Again, $5,000 in cash prizes and top 4 invites to the Invitational. So great tournaments to bring to your local area.
Invitational. I mean, 3 weeks. No, excuse me, 4. Take it back. 4 weeks.
In Jersey.
Ah, of course, you. You're going to be back home again.
Cue up the I'm coming home video.
Which one, with or without P. Diddy?
Without.
Thank you. That's
without.
That is the correct answer. Maybe it's just Diddy now. I don't even know what his name is anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just Sean.
The Mumbler.
Yeah. The song ruiner.
Ruining all of Biggie's tracks.
Game 2 about to be underway here for Berryman and Lossett. We're going to see if Joe can take this one home, move on to 6-0, be 1 win away from the double draw in. Again, this is such a big weekend for Joe.
Yeah. He was able to carve out his top 32. Not the finish he was looking for in the Standard Open, but still fine. But this is his format.
I'm going to tell you something. He's not going to go to Syracuse next week, and he's already said that. If Alex or Gerard wins, look, he's going to D.C.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear I'm not going. You're going.
You can't fly to KC and to Dallas and then give up.
You're going. You go to D.C., maybe you go to Somerset a week early, you hang out there, and then you go to the Invitational. He's going to D.C. if one of those guys spikes the tournament. I don't care what anybody says. It's time for a brainstorm.
And it looks like Joe has the lock. He doesn't have it in play yet, of course, because he brainstormed this turn instead of playing a Divining Top, but he's got it ready to go.
That's where he wants to be. No 2-drop there from Berryman, you saw. Looks like he's a little land heavy. Burn wants to draw I think, at most 4 lands.
Yeah, that's 2 Fire Blasts.
Yeah.
My initial burn deck, when I built it for the first Grand Prix, I had 12 fetches, 8 mountains. I wasn't sure what the distribution should be.
Sure.
But I figured I want to cast all 4 Fire Blasts if that comes up in a game. So 8's the minimum.
That's pretty smart. Pretty smart.
That's just good deck building.
That's exactly what that is. Here's the top. Gonna sacrifice the old wooded foothills here.
See a Shusher in Logan's deck.
Not surprising to see that. Brian Camage, when he won in Vegas when we were there a couple months back, used Shusher to great effect, actually to beat Miracles in the finals.
And it was excellent.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Shusher fan. I think it's pretty narrow. And I don't really like creatures against Miracles as a rule. But against Miracles, it does have moments of being very good.
It does, yeah. So we'll see if Berryman wants to fire if any spells at the end of turn. Now that he sees, okay, there's a top out here. He's got an island available. That can mean a bevy of things. But I feel like he needs something to do. Looks like he has a lot of lands. All right, so he's just going to draw. Ooh, another land. Yikes.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah. Is he going to try to windmill down the Vortex? The answer is yes. And this one's worth the Force of Will, I think.
Yeah, he's going to spin top and maybe try to find a 3. But this is going to be Force of Will for sure.
Yeah, well,
sorry. If he finds a Wear Tear, if he finds a Council's Judgment.
And the other thing, too, here that he could find is maybe just a worse blue card to throw away to Force of Will.
Yeah. But this is not resolving.
The nice thing there is that spinning top is basically free. So what he's going to do is Force of Will that removing Brainstorm. Yes, removing Brainstorm sucks, but Sulfuric Vortex resolving is much worse.
It's the only way Logan can win games where he floods out, or in games where Joe establishes the lock.
Joe going to draw Brainstorm. And now it's time to deploy the other half of the combo. It's Counterbalance to go along with Sensei's Divining Top.
And now the full fix is in.
It's hard to win now.
Well, Logan still has some Shushers in his deck, and that gives him some hope.
Yep. Can't counter that. Shusher will make sure you can't counter the spells.
But he is drawing pretty slim.
A friendly goblin. Shh. Absolutely. Shh. Is that what a mage is doing when they counter a spell? They're like yelling really loudly at it?
No, actually, it's odd because counter spells are often flavored as silencing someone.
Yeah. So why are you shushing me? I don't quite understand. Here is a lava spike. I'm just saying, don't shush me, Patrick. That's all. Shh. No, don't shush me. Got a counterbalance trigger on the stack here, it looks like. See if Joe wants to actually draw the top, maybe cast a Brainstorm instead.
Well, he's got to worry that this is a spot where Logan's trying to push through another Vortex.
Yep.
And Joe does not currently have an answer.
He's gonna draw. Here's this. There's that. Is it Vortex? I think it's just Goblin Guide. It's gonna be a Suspended Rift Bolt. That's a 3-mana spell, but not the one we're looking for. Here's a Price of Progress, just for 2. And Joe says, all right, I'll go to 14.
I think I would have just opened on hard casting Riftbolt that turn.
Yeah?
Yeah. I really hate suspending against an active counterbalance. And he didn't really do enough damage to warrant losing the Lava Spike there. Especially when he has Shushers in his deck. It's not hopeless. I mean, that it might get into play and you might be able to resolve those ones.
Yeah, the game is ugly right now, but Shusher does give you an avenue to victory if you do draw it. There's a 3. Hello, V-Click.
To reiterate, I dislike suspending against active top counterbalance.
Draw a card. And there's it. Yep, and that's exactly what you said.
Yeah, I mean, I think Logan could have identified a couple turns ago that this was the out to win the game and that the whole game should have been playing around that.
Now, we are being told that traditionally, Patrick, spells require magic words. So if you silence or shush a mage, it ruins, i.e. counters the spell.
Okay, so that makes sense how Shusher and counter spells would kind of be flavored the same way.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The same thing can be said of the card silence.
Yes.
You cannot cast spells because you cannot say your spell.
Some Dungeons and Dragons action right
Look
there.
at that flavor, I tell you. Shh. That's just smart. What also is smart is Terminus still being in the deck after sideboard to kill Vexing Shusher.
Yeah, you don't want a lot of them, but you want at least a few.
A bit of a hedge.
It's insurance policy.
That's a good one, though. What about another Shusher? What do you think about that? Now Joe's got to think a little bit. And again, this is exactly what you talked about. Joe's going to take a look at the Goblin Shaman. It can't be countered, and of course you can pay a red mana to make sure the follow-up spells can't be countered either. So it works its way through counterbalance beautifully.
Mm-hmm. And I think that Logan should have been playing to this card a little while ago. So Logan may be getting some confirmation. You do have to preemptively use Vexing Shusher with the counterbalance trigger on the stack. So you cast a spell, counterbalance triggers. In response to that, you need to activate the Shusher on your spell. If the trigger just resolves and it matches, it's too late. So you have to kind of preempt it.
A little bit strange, but that's what you got to do. And now it is Logan's job to not draw lands anymore. Now this turn, I'm actually okay with suspending. Would you want to hardcast there?
Still, I would still hardcast it because your Shusher may not get through to next turn.
Oh boy, I don't think it's going to. And actually, oddly enough, Logan saw that card. So I actually generally don't like the attack because he saw Vendilion Click from a top reveal earlier, but more importantly, Vexing Shusher is your way to win.
Yeah.
So it's more of an enchantment now than a creature.
Once you're in top counterbalance lock, that's really the only card you have in your deck that matters anymore. It's basically Shusher and Vortex. Those are the cards that allow you to maybe get out.
And Joe is thrilled to make that exchange. Now there's a Council's Judgment. So now everything's going bad for Logan here.
Yeah.
It is getting mighty ugly.
I mean, this would have been a really challenging game to win, even with ideal play. And I think Logan did not squeeze the requisite value out of his Shushers this round.
Joe gonna draw a card here. Looks like it was a Force of Will.
And now Joe's on 14.
That's a lot of life.
14's a lot. Logan's down to one Shusher in his deck. Two of them have died. I guess one of them was Terminus, so it could be theoretically shuffled back
That's
in.
true.
But for the time
That's true.
being, Logan's down to about one card.
It's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Oh, yeah. Joe's hand is pretty stocked at this point, too.
Goblin Guide, Joe, and see, here's the thing. Joe can pick and choose now. A Goblin Guide, huh? Well, maybe I care, maybe I don't.
The thing is, with one card in hand, there's almost no follow-up that Logan can have that really matters. So Joe can be pretty aggressive about just putting top back on top.
Yep.
There's some spots where, your burn opponent, they've got 6 cards in your hand, and sometimes you have to say, I have to let the one resolve here, because if I put the top on top, who knows what could be unleashed.
Yep.
But with one card in hand and Joe at 14, it's just, all right, this stuff just kind of resolves.
Surprise progress. You see Joe with a misdirection, but you can't misdirect that. Symmetrical effect, no target. Joe might be perfectly fine with just taking 4. He says, all right, I go to 10, that's fine. I don't want to use a counterspell on that card. Doesn't bother me all that much. Here's top. There's Floodstrand, be able to reshuffle the deck in case he doesn't like what he sees.
And now, essentially, Joe is just waiting on Jace or some other way to just finish this one up.
Just some way to win. He'll find one eventually. We saw Jace do it last time. It could be creatures, Vendilion Fencer, or Snapcaster.
This is another thing I hadn't really considered, but I'm seeing it for the first time now.
Okay.
Having Eidolon in your deck is another good argument for sandbagging your one-costers against countertop.
Okay.
Because if you have Eidolon in play and then you cast a 1, you don't really care too much about them resetting the top on top, because they have to recast the top. It's
Which
2
deals
damage
them
each
too.
time.
Okay.
So with an Eidolon in play, you can still get some value out of your one-costers.
I like it. A different angle.
Yeah, I've not seen this interaction before, but I kind of just realized it for the first time.
Your brain works in a special way, especially when it comes to those burn spells.
Yeah.
Speak of Eidolon. There it is. Might get a hardcast Force Will here. That card might just be annoying enough.
And Joe's hand is so stacked, it's almost like, if you're not countering this, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, what warrants a counterspell there is it sort of turns on the one-cost spells in Logan's deck for the reasons that I mentioned. Recasting the Divining Top is a cost.
Mountain is the draw. All Logan can do is pass now. Joe's going to draw a card with the top. It's a V-click. He wants to see exactly what he's working with. He sees 2 mountains, so he knows the coast is very clear. See if Joe wants to sacrifice flooded strand or not. Clear away that other top. He might have some interest in actually keeping that, though. He'll spin really quickly. Can use Caracas to do so because he knows that my V-click is not going to die.
I think Joe may have found Venser, in which case Venser plus Caracas this far ahead.
Ever heard of it? Get your land, pick it up. I don't even know if that's that good right now, but pick it up.
Maybe Joe wants to speed up the clock in air
Oh,
quotes.
this again? Oh, come on. Twice in one match is
Oh,
really...
yeah. Whispers of the Muse with
Yeah.
buyback.
Yeah.
Look it up. Joe's getting it going. Haven't seen it in about 15 years, and Joe's getting it going right now.
There's top. The best is when Joe did this last time. I remember so vividly when Joe did that play the last time we were here in Dallas. Matthias and I were just like, "That's pretty sweet. I don't even know if that's really all that great, but it's sweet." And then we're like, "Joe, why'd you do that?" And he gave us like some sort of reason, and he's like, "Also, it's super sweet." It was so funny. It was so funny. Ilon the Great Rebel in the house. But Lossett has a commanding lead right now.
Joe has a myriad of ways of handling this. The easiest being just Caracas, Venser, put the Eidolon back and keep attacking.
Yeah, he can figure out some way to get it done.
Maybe spin with top. I don't know. But Joe, he's this far ahead, but he does not want to do anything sloppy.
2 and 3 from the spinning of the top. You see Joe's having a grand old time right now. Knows he's pretty far ahead. Some friendly banter with Logan. Logan knows he's in a world of trouble. And Joe says that can resolve. When you know that can resolve, that's horrible news. How about the beatdowns? Logan's going to go to 5.
So now Logan's essentially locked. Any one coster triggers the Eidolon, and then Vendilion Click finishes off the job.
That's true.
And Caracas protects both of his creatures.
Take a draw. That's the Wooded Foothills. He'll play that. Bloodstained Mire, hold the Foothills. Doesn't want to give that information away. Joe says, I'm going to pick up my Venser. I'm going to cast my Venser. I take nothing from your Eidolon. I'm going to bounce your Eidolon out of the way. I will untap. I've got a lot of defense. I'm going to attack for 5, and that's going to do it. Joe Lossett is going to win this match over Logan Berryman. 2-0. Blue-White Miracles moves on to 6-0.
I think that's overall a really solid matchup for Joe, and he's shown a lot of experience playing this matchup. I mean, valued everything the right way, and game 1 was particularly impressive.
It was